You know what they say, a rainy day keeps the doctor at bay. That has nothing to do with this video. Car lists, holy shit, Garacade's talking about cars again. It's been a while, huh? Car lists are like the backbone of car games. They're not really seen as flashy. They're not the features that people really wake up for. Like, oh my god, it's gonna be the car list. I can't wait to see it. Like, it's more of like a subtle thing that if done correctly is great. If done incorrectly, people will whine about it. So, you know, what's FIFA without their vintage teams? What's Call of Duty without their guns? What's the Oscars without scripted drama? I want to talk about 4 key elements right here that depict whether or not a list of automobiles are good or bad. And then I want to talk about the social media cars. You're looking at these numbers and you're like, what the fuck is this, right? I meant to be cryptic, so the watch time goes up. You're gonna look at these numbers until the end of the video where I will then cover them. 4 horsemen. I thought long and hard about this. I really wanted this to be 3 horsemen. It just is a better number, more well-rounded. We got a start, middle, end, but it's 4, whatever, one of the worst numbers in the world. Number 1 is quality over quantity. And I'm gonna use Gran Turismo as the example here. Gran Turismo 5 has 1,100 cars. Now as a kid, that was exciting. But one thing I noticed was it seemed like half of the cars were half-assed. In fact, they had a little half-assed label on them called Standard. Standard versus premium cars. I'd be excited to buy this car just for it to be a black cockpit. It sounds like my grandma's Hoover. And overall, it just felt like I'm driving a Hot Wheels car without the Hot Wheels flair. It really kind of ruined a lot of the mystique and the realism for the cars. When we look at Gran Turismo 7, it has half of the cars. I think they learned a lesson because each of these cars not only have their nice, unique sound, their cockpit, the way they drive, there's always some old cranky-ass grandpa yapping for 35 minutes straight about the invention of this car and how he stuck his dick in an exhaust.
Oh fuck yeah, I'm hard as a rock.
And learned about his passion for Nissan, Nismos, whatever it is. They always found a way to make every car stand out. Number 2 is variety. The different genres, the different tastes of cars. For example, here's a little niche one. Project Cars. That was a racing game that felt so realistic. You'd hop behind the controller, you couldn't drive that thing, and it made you feel like you actually had to learn. It felt so bare bones. It didn't have any life. The cars all felt, you know, similar, racy. They didn't have any uniqueness to it. Once you got over a certain genre, it felt like that was it. One that does variety amazingly well, and you've heard me talk about this game multiple times, Project Gotham Racing 2. Now, let me take the dick out of my ass that Bizarre Creations always puts up it. Project Gotham Racing 2 has universally, objectively, the most colorful cars in the world. Volvo SUVs, these weird ass cult Chevy trucks. And then you got obviously your hypercars, your exotics. You got these weird concept cars that you've never seen before. I mean, a Delfino Feroce, an Ascari KZ1, an Iseni. What are these? Like a Noble? As a kid, I was so interested in these cars. And it wasn't just these weird cars. I mean, you can just hop in your mom's SUV in the Volvo. It was so diverse and broad, and it made every car really impactful. In fact, the story helped it out a ton. They had a ton of different categories of, you know, exclusive events. You know, there's SUV events where the Cayenne just like soloed, but other events there was different kinds of cars, different kind of metas. That's what made it really cool. It only had like 50 cars, but they made each car have its own breath of life, different avenues. You could find any car you want in this game. Muscle anything. Like I promise you. Number 3 is impact. When you buy a car or level up and unlock a car in a racing game, do you cream your pants? Or do you just give up and go, okay, wow, next one? That is a question that is actually very important when depicting a car list. Games like Gran Turismo 7, you're excited to buy that car because you know how much you can do with it. And then there's other games that feels like, yeah, there's 2 million cars, but they all, you know, they all feel kind of similar. And I know it sounds similar to quality versus quantity because it kind of is, but I'll give an example. Forza Horizon, when I first got on this game, I was excited for 5 seconds about the amount of cars, and then it quickly faded because it felt like you really couldn't do much with these cars. It just all felt similar. There wasn't really a lot of creativity behind each one. You can tune them, customize them, sure, but it just felt like there was something missing. And we compare that to something like Art of Rally. Oh my goodness, one of the most colorful games ever compared to Project Gotham Racing 2. This is more of like an arcade version. Holy moly, there's around 50 vehicles, but each of them feel like a human being. Like, unlocking a car in this one is like, holy shit, let's go. Let's fucking go. Like, this is sick. I can't wait to drive around in it. And I mean, the customization options are nothing compared to Forza Horizon. But you go on Forza Horizon, it's like going to that restaurant with 300 good menu options where you're just like, what's the point, bro? Like, I'm not gonna sit here thinking about what car or what food order I should buy for the next 30 minutes. It's not worth it. So I do think keeping it short and sweet sometimes is good, and make sure that each car has an impact. Hence the word impact. I'm a genius. Number 4, relativity. This is so important. We're gonna go back to our favorite little hamster, our fuck toy, our experimental guinea pig, Need for Speed Unbound.
Leave me alone!
I'm so sorry, the amount of hate. It's a good game, but the car list makes no sense. Illegal street racing. The cops are out and about, right? It's nighttime. You want to feel illegal. Why the fuck are there 35 Lamborghini Huracans in this game? No one wants to hop in this shit. Okay, in a game where art is so emphasized, why do you want to ruin art? As in all these hypercars. I get 3, 4, 5, but this is not a hypercar game. This is a game where you can make art out of cars that might be looked over. Look at A$AP Rocky's car. Listen, that's a classic, but what he did with that car is so goddamn unique, right? That it elevated it to a new level. Like what can you do with a Huracan? The Huracan's already beautiful. The Aventador's already beautiful. The 911's already beautiful. But you add so many of these motherfucking cars that it just kind of makes the atmosphere feel not as immersive. Now, compared to Need for Speed Underground 2, where there aren't a lot of cars that are exotic. Same with, I'm gonna put Need for Speed Carbon in here too. These cars feel slower, but they add to the mystique, the dark appeal. Think about Need for Speed Carbon's soundtrack. What do you want to think of? You don't want to think about a fucking Ferrari or a 911. You want to think about the Mitsubishi Lancer. That's what is in your head. You want to think about Tokyo Drift, Hans RX-7, shit like that. That is why relativity is important. In fact, in some of these games, the exotics aren't even the fastest. Like the Murcielago in Carbon, or whatever the car was. The twisty part, you're losing. You're losing to a fucking Fiat Panda, whatever the hell their starter cars were. I didn't really play that one too much. But these 4 right here, Mount Rushmore of things that a car list needs to work on. Now, little break, subscribe or die.
Hey, I swipe.
Please, thank you. Social media car, at last the numbers. The mystery of the numbers are gonna start making sense now. We're going back to Need for Speed Unbound for this, but quickly before I do, what is a social media car? It's cars that are exponentially desired with the influence of social media like TikTok, Instagram. I'm not hating on it, it's just like a fact, right? Like the GTR, the GT AMG, the Huracan, the McLarens, all these cars just fall under that kind of demographic of influencers, YouTubers, perennial dick suckers, Garacade, etc. So looking at that, so let's go talk about the numbers. 148, this is the amount of cars in Need for Speed Unbound. 34, the amount of brands in Need for Speed Unbound. 17, the amount of brands that have 3 or more cars in Need for Speed Unbound. So we're taking out things like the Alfa Romeo, the Pagani, the Polestar, right? Because I thought, okay, yes, there's 34 brands and it looks good on paper, but how many of these brands actually have a presence in the game? Not just one-off bullshit. So by subtracting the 17 brands of the 1s and 2s, I did the math. 148 minus 24 is 124. So we're left with 17 car brands and 124 cars. My guy put the spoon down. He needs to close his eyes. 7.3 cars a brand. I mean, dude, that's a problem. I mean, most of these brands, they're not hitting 7. They're probably hitting 3 or 4, which only means that the BMWs, the Mercedes AMGs, the goddamn Porsches, the McLarens, the Lamborghinis all have like 11. And they do. Look it up. It's too much, man. I understand that you need to appeal to an audience that is, obsessed over, the hot commodities of cars. But why the fuck do we need 5 Aventadors? 5. I'm not joking. Like, look all this up. We've got like 15 Huracans. We've got, I don't even want to start, the amount of 911s. I love Porsche, but if I play this game, like, too much, I might like transition to a whole new fanboy of another car because there's way too many Porsches, dude. Cabriolet, Coupe, Targa, Carrera, Coupe, Spider. Like, holy shit. You don't need all these. If you do the math, I don't know, I bet you can trim and cut the fat of like 25 cars here. The McLarens, listen, hot take, great looking car, they all fucking look the same. One just looks a little spicier than the other. Trim it to 1. God damn it. Removing like 25, 30 cars here not only is going to give it more room for cool cars to come in, cars that you don't really see all the time, but it also allows people to not feel overwhelmed by the oversaturation of exotics and hypercars. You don't need 17 different Huracan options. If you want to buy a Huracan, fine, look at 1, maybe look at 2. I understand that there's different trims, but dude, to add 5 or 4 or however much, it's just gonna make people more confused. They don't know where to start. And ultimately, when you're going towards that end where you start making a lot of money, it should feel unique to have a Huracan, but it doesn't because there's 5 other trims. And that is kind of just Need for Speed not really seeing the balance. You need to have the quality of the car, which is there, right? Each car you can customize, you can have a lot of fun with, but the variety, especially in that aisle, it's so much bloat. And the impact is low. And then finally, I mean, the Relativity as a whole, the hypercars, I mean, they might need to go. Regardless, that is the video. Okay, let me bring the spoon back. You can live now. We're friends. That's the video. Garacade, outro, subscribe again, right? So if you're seeing this, unsubscribe, then subscribe again, because that's how much you love me. And ultimately, that's all I have. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Give me some other examples. Tell me to go fuck myself if I'm wrong. I'm just a crybaby. I understand. I won't be offended. But, Garacade out. Boom, boom, shakalaka. I don't know. Say something.